there's plenty of comment with regard to the right and the problems on the right. But the reason I wrote the book was exactly what Al said and why and where I grew up and what I see, in all seriousness. So this is not your father's Democratic Party. That Democratic leadership, that Bill Clinton, that sort of moderate deal which was sold to the American people, and I think with regard to trade and charter schools was actually reality and substance, has become a European sort of social democrat model for consumption in this country.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And joining us is the man himself, Governor Bob Ehrlich, former governor of the state of Maryland, and also the author of a book which is now out in its second print in hardcover, and it's called, the greatest title in the world, America, Hope for Change. There it is on your screen, and good to see you.
You are underdressed, buddy boy. You are.
I know.
I am big time. I am big time.
Well, you got a gridiron.
I do. Ivy League football dinner tonight. So
they're going to have all the deflated balls on one table.
12.5 pounds, unless Harvard's cheating. I don't know. But.
Now, before we get that, I just wanted, the Wall Street Journal has recently given you some notoriety, put you on a very important list.
Well, the dark horse list, so obviously, but...
for 2016.
And we've talked about this on your show, obviously, but I have half a toe in, I guess, in New Hampshire and now South Carolina, Florida,
and
Vermont,
you got great
Rhode
response
Island.
in New Hampshire.
Great response, and those first three speeches really hit a chord up there. So we're going to continue to accept invitations, get around the country. And it's pretty neat because I have no entourage, no staff. Sometimes I bring my wife, sometimes I don't. But when you walk in and they don't know who you are, and you walk out and they want to talk to you, it's always a good barometer.
Yeah, absolutely. So. All right, the book is doing real well. Obviously,
really
second printing. Yep. You've done great stuff with that. As I said from the beginning, best title. If you run, that's got to be your campaign slogan. And I guess you have it sort of copyrighted now. I don't think anybody could steal it off your book cover.
The publisher's going to have to talk to you.
Yeah,
But you've been great, by the way, in promoting my book.
Oh, no,
I
think there's great ideas in that book. I think you have a lot of great ideas. Let's talk about some of the ideas you heard that were not so great on
you mean all
Tuesday night. Yeah, yeah. Unbelievable.
The first thing that came to my mind as I was coming up on the train this morning, I thought, what am I going to say? Because I knew you were going to ask that question. And what came to my mind was, same old, same old. He knows one way, he thinks one way, he acts one way, he has one worldview. It seems that he cannot act outside that particular worldview. And you heard the same stuff the other night, regardless of political consequences, regardless of midterm elections, regardless of anything, regardless of events in the world. Right. So it's same old. Most of that stuff's going nowhere, as we know. Thank God.
You said in that little clip that it's not your father's Democratic Party anymore, and I say that referring to JFK, who could never be a Democrat.
Today.
No, absolutely not. But you're so right. I mean, this man and what the party has now become with Pelosi and Reid and led by Barack Obama and following lockstep with him, it's not even Bill Clinton's Democratic Party.
No,
he is just unwilling to compromise on anything, and he tells you he's unwilling to compromise on anything.
Yep.
I mean, how do you deal with that?
It's interesting because the guy had such a ride for so long. He was the next best thing, and then he got to be president, and it was all this great. And even some Republicans, some conservatives voted for him in this grand hope and change. But hope and change always was undefined. And hope and change, it turns out, is Western European style progressivism.
Right. Which was there for media or anybody who wanted to see it at the beginning.
Voting record, rhetoric, platform.
Yep.
You name it, he was there. So he's not a phony.
Yep.
I will say that. He's inflexible. And as I said, what you saw the other night is what you get. If you're talking about difficult tax bills, you're talking about comprehensive tax reform, if you're talking about trade bills, he has to lead. Reagan led with Tip O'Neill, by the way. They didn't agree on much, but they sat down, they worked it out.
Yeah. Not in a bar, by the way. They never had a drink, but anyway.
Never, not once.
Yeah.
But the fact of it is, he has relatively few good relationships on Capitol Hill, let alone Republicans, Democrats
even with
as well.
Democrats, yeah.
So, and that, by the way, that was his reputation as a member.
Let me ask you, what do you think Romney and Bush are going to be talking about today?
I don't know.
I mean, they're meeting.
So
no, I know, but do you think
you run?
But do you think? I mean,
look,
obviously
I know them both. I like them both.
I mean, if they're going to meet, that's what they're going to say. If we run, neither one of us are going to get it.
They occupy sort of the same philosophical space. Mm-hmm. Some would argue with that, but I think most people would generally. I think you probably agree with that. Both good guys, obviously, both very successful. Both former governors. I like former governors.
I know you do.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And what's your timetable? And what I mean, you got the good response. You know what it's going to take. I mean, you haven't done it, but you know what's involved.
I really don't know what it's going to take,
Yeah.
but I do know that it's daunting and
Yeah.
the odds are overwhelming and all that stuff. But I do know that when I go to a state and I walk into a room and nobody knows who I am, and when I finish,
they're
they're lining up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who that guy is,
Right.
but we like what he says. We like how he comes across. That's enough encouragement to get you to take the next step. So what I'm doing, quite frankly, is running around the country, accepting speaking engagements and doing my thing.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting, and certainly, like I said, I think anybody who reads Hope for Change will be very impressed.
I wrote it, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I think I made that perfectly clear. Even though he's in a tuxedo, I'm giving him all the credit he needs.
Yeah.
Well, listen, great to see you. Have fun at the football.
Thank you.
And don't deflate
a lot
any
of
balls.
has-beens tonight. So.
Don't deflate any balls before they
Hey,
eat.
I'm a Ravens fan. I want to go back to that game, too.
I'm sure you do. All right, folks. Thank you, Governor.
My pleasure.
We'll be back, folks, with the Malzberg panel. That's coming your way after the break. But first, when the Panama Canal opened in August of 1914, it was an example of American engineering and ingenuity connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans for trade and security. So let's take a look back now with this hour's American Moment.
It took 34 years to build, but on August 15th, 1914, the Panama Canal was officially opened for business and was quickly crowned one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. The 51-mile-long and 10-mile-wide canal was originally begun by the French, but abandoned after 9 years and the loss of over 20,000 of their workers from disease-infected jungles. President Theodore Roosevelt believed the completion of the canal was essential to American security and prosperity, so he negotiated with the French to purchase the canal's properties and dredging equipment. But when negotiations with Colombia over a canal treaty broke down, Roosevelt backed a local bloodless revolution that lasted only a few hours. And on November 3rd, 1903, the nation of Panama was born. With the opening of the Panama Canal, the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans were joined, reducing a ship's journey from New York to San Francisco by 9,000 miles. Roosevelt's vision made the canal a reality, and the feat helped make America a world power. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.